Tonight, we are pleased to announce the first world-class New Zealand award winner, Kirsten Nevill-Manning.
So I want to start by saying thank you so much to Kier for the award. I'm truly in awe of the other awardees that I've met today and of past awardees that are here with me, some of whom are close friends, like Professor Ian Whitten and my husband, Craig. In fact, I'm also embarrassed. Even though I've lived overseas for over 20 years, I think the tall poppy syndrome really does run very deep. So speaking of gratitude and reflection, this is something that I do regularly. This evening, we are soon going to be sharing dinner together. Anyone who has ever shared a meal with me or celebrated a special event knows that I like to end the day with talking about what was the best of the day, the worst of the day, and something that we're grateful for. So as we sit here tonight, about to enjoy a meal together, and as I've reflected on the past 30 years of my career, I thought that I would do the same. I'm going to share what's been the worst, then the best, and what I'm grateful for. So I'm going to start with the worst, and actually the most important, most pivotal thing in my life. I was 20 when my dad died, and he was just 46. I knew that it was so young when he died, but I know now that it was even younger as I stand here older than he was then. Through the heartbreak of losing my dad, I learned to truly value each day and to make choices every single day that I might not otherwise have made. So I married my husband, Craig, way too young, as the wise people would say. I reached for jobs that I didn't feel qualified to do, and I explored parts of the world that my dad really wished he could have seen. In his death, my dad gave me such a parting gift. He enabled me to find the silver threads of life that I can stitch together and have been lucky enough to guide me throughout. So that leads me to the best. And the best part of my life, as the Māori proverb says, are the people, he tangata. First and foremost, I'm so thankful to my dad and my wonderful mum who's here tonight, who taught me hard work and about loving people. And to Craig's family, who have been with me for the last 27 years, who have been so supportive throughout that time. My interest in people helped me study psychology at Canterbury University, and then working at an IHC group home, helping people with intellectual disabilities integrate with the community. I learned the joy of bringing their families and communities and giving them support. There's one particular woman that 30 years on still stands out. Her name was Anne Melville. Anne loved life and got so excited about the smallest details, some of which were not always appropriate. So for example, she would ask me, "You got pants on? You married?" And Craig and I quote her to this day, and what she taught us was that we should love life, and her legacy was one of joy. After IHC, I did investigate child abuse for the Children and Young Person Service, and I'm thrilled to see the government focus on improving child well-being. To this date, it's still something I'm super passionate about, and ending family violence is super critical, and it's for the New Zealand that I want to see, allowing all citizens to make the most of their lives. So when I moved to New York, a friend of mine, who I'm so fortunate to have here tonight, Nicola Darby, let me work at her business, and it was my first time in business. And what I realized is that I could actually do something in the business world too. And what working with her company, it showed me that we could have impact with technology and perhaps larger scale than I'd experienced before. So it gave me the courage when I moved back to California to apply to Google in 2001. I was turned down. And for those young people that are here, many in my family, I was turned down several times. Let's be clear. So one afternoon, I just happened to be at Google, And the head of HR came up to me and said, "Do you still want a job in HR?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Can you start in 30 minutes?" And I was like, "Yes." So the next thing I knew, that was the yes that changed my life. And at 6 p.m., that's when I started my job at Google, a weird time to start a job. I found myself at a meeting run by Sheryl Sandberg, who's now the COO of Facebook, and she introduced me as her HR expert. After the meeting, I went up to Sheryl and I said, "I've never done HR, I've got zero experience." And she replied, "I've never run an ads business." I knew this was something that was going to be pretty special. I had the privilege of working with Sheryl and other colleagues to build the ads business around the world at Google, and then to follow her to Facebook and build the business there in places like India, where I was so privileged to give well-paying jobs to people in countries like India where they could support their extended families, and in Ireland after the global financial crisis, and some of my best friends have come from those positions. I've even had the weird position of officiating 8 people that I've worked for weddings, and I've also officiated another 4 people that I met through Kia. So Kia really does globally connect people. 5 years ago, and what for me was a full circle moment, I left Facebook and I followed a former colleague of mine from Google, Adam Fried, who was running an education-focused company called Teachers Pay Teachers, connecting teachers with each other and allowing them to support each other around the world. It reminds me of the work my dad did and the importance he placed on education. Throughout all of my life, my friends, my family, who I met here tonight, and many are also supporting me virtually from around the world. They've nurtured me, they've believed in me, they've given me lots of tough feedback, and they've let me beat them at bananagrams way too often. And especially Craig, who I couldn't have asked for a better partner, and he's allowed me to do the work that I love. I love you. So the best part of the 30 years has been the people I've served through nonprofits like Acumen, the people I've worked with in academia, government, and at companies, and the family and friends that I've had the privilege of sharing my life with. So finally, what am I grateful for? First and foremost, I'm grateful for Anne Melville from that first IHC job that I had. Through difficult moments in our lives, I want you all to learn from her wisdom and check that you have pants on too. And take her spirit of inquisitiveness and joy into everything that you do. I'm grateful for a friend in New York, Jeff Andrews, who knits the New York and New Zealand community together. He exemplifies what Kia is all about. We should all emulate him as we leave tonight by connecting New Zealanders around the world. Finally, thank you to Xero for sponsoring this award and helping bring us all together tonight. People really are the most important thing in the world. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata, and thank you.